Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. This is the third video I'm doing on the insulation of this hot water tank. In the first video I showed you how I made this octagonal platform. Not only lifts the tank up a little bit, but it acts as a thermal break between the stainless steel tank and the concrete slab. In another video I discussed whether it made sense to insulate this PEX tubing. The heat for the hot water tank is generated by the boiler and it's delivered to the hot water tank with this plastic tubing. And in this video I'm going to show you how I insulated some of these oddball fittings. You know, in an ideal world you insulate everything as much as you can, but in the real world insulation costs time and money. And as a result I think it makes sense to insulate some things more than other things. But fundamentally, if you have a hot water tank, this thing is holding hot water 24 hours a day, every single day of the year. So any place that feels warm around the tank should be insulated because it's just bleeding heat into the surrounding area all day, every day. These two PEX tubes here are what delivers the hot water to the tank. Between the two ports, there's a heat exchanger inside the tank, and the hot water runs through the heat exchanger and it heats the water in the tank. The water in the tank is the domestic hot water that goes to the house. So when I put my hands on these tubes, they're very rarely warm. In fact, right now I can barely tell that this is above room temperature. I can feel heat down here by the metal fitting, which is why I've taken the time to cut some pipe insulation and wrap it. I think I'm going to add a little bit more to the top of this tube. Ironically, at the bottom of the heat exchanger here, this feels ice cold and this tube is cold up here. So I don't think there's a great need to insulate these. This line here going up, and it's insulated, this is the domestic hot water to the house. And sorry for the bad lighting, but that's been insulated all the way up. This is the pressure release valve, and there's a metal valve in here and a copper downdraft tube. And these have felt quite warm, which is why I have insulation on them. If I put my hand down at the bottom of the copper tube there, it feels like room temperature, so I'm not too worried about that. What I'm going to do is I'll take it apart, give you an idea, show you how I did it, put it back together. So putting your hand on this fitting, you can definitely feel the heat. There's a stainless steel nipple coming out of the tank, going into a cast iron elbow, to a reducer, to the PEX. And I'm going to try to get as much insulation on this area as I can, because that's just heat that's being lost. So first I have these two pieces of just a short length of insulation. The pipe's too big, so I needed to take a full piece and then add a little bit more to it. And those two pieces go up against the nipple in there. And then finally I have these three pieces. This is the most interesting one. It's already been installed, which is why it's a little schmutzed up. But it started out as a length of insulation, and I cut these wedges out of it so that it would be able to wrap around the elbow. And then on the top side, I cut this piece to mate with the pipe, like so, kind of a saddle shape. And finally, this little piece just went in here to add a little bit more filler against some of the threads on the elbow. And these pieces would fit like so. This one just sits in here, a little bit of a filler, and this one sits on top. It's a saddle, and then this one wraps around the bottom, and a couple strategically placed ties holds it all in place. And here it is, all buttoned up. I've got a couple layers and some. Here's the lower pieces that I showed you. I tied them to the pipe. Then I have a ring in here because there's a discontinuity from fat to skinny. And then I have the tube coming down that's insulated. And then I wrap the whole thing with this collar just to cover any of the areas that were hard to get to because of the discontinuities. So probably a little overkill, but it's effective. So that's all I got for this one. As always, I appreciate you coming by and checking out my videos. Please feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what I might do in the future to make these things even a little bit better. And as always, take care, stay safe, and keep your eyes out for the next one.